Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I have a question for you. One in how many people live in poverty in Montreal? Pick a number, 1 to 10. One in how many people live in poverty in Montreal? I see 4, I see 5. The right answer is 3. 1 in 3 people live in poverty in Montreal. Are you surprised? Tonight, I'm going to be talking to you about my work at ACEM, l'Association Communautaire d'Emprunt de Montréal, a non-profit organization that has been serving marginalized, vulnerable Montrealers for nearly 3 decades. It's hardly known, so we're trying to rechristen it as ACEM Microcrédit Montréal. Communications is what we need. So, what I'm going to so tonight, I'm going to be sharing stories with you, stories about why I think it's important to invest in the potential of people, stories about how we develop and nurture the potential of people, some joys and challenges in doing our work, and perhaps how you can help us. Because our vision is to build a more inclusive and prosperous society. And my objective tonight is to use the analogy of apples to help you join us. Here's a bunch of apples I picked up earlier today on my way in. I want you to take a minute and imagine all the steps that happened before I picked up this apple. Some farmer somewhere believed in the potential of those seeds. He invested in those seeds. He nurtured them. They became small saplings. With time, with further nurturing, they became a big hardy tree, and they bore him fruit. And one day, he had to break his head about how to bring those apples to market so that I could pick it up on my way here. So this is the analogy I'm going to be using for my speech tonight. Okay, why does ACEM invest in the potential of people? And why am I so passionate about it? Let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, it's only because scores of people have believed in me. Scores of people have invested in me, offered me opportunities. And tonight I'd like to particularly thank one of them, Michel Fillion, who's in this room. In 2000, our family moved from India to UK and then to Montreal. I came with a degree and the equivalent of chartered certified accountancy. But when I applied to become an accountant here, they said, well, your bachelor's is not in commerce, so you need to do your bachelor's degree and then redo all your qualifications to become an accountant. I said, I have children to look after another time. I applied to McGill for a graduate diploma. They said, your bachelor's is from the Open University, which is the equivalent of Quebec, Université. So they didn't take me in. But I've always had in my mind that I wanted to do an MBA. And this is how I came to this very building a few years ago in 2013. One thing led to another, and with time, I got an offer letter for a $40,000 bursary to join the prestigious EMBA McGill-HEC program. And Michel Fillion came to our work to do a little video about it. And that was the beginning. He just fell in love with our diverse, competent team. He said, how can I help you? And since then, he's been a volunteer with our organization. He's my boss, technically. He's our vice president of our board of directors today. So thank you, Michel. It's only because of scores of people like you who've believed in me that I feel that I need to give back to society. Now, microcredit is small loans. As you can imagine, we're talking $500 to $20,000. We're talking loans for entrepreneurs or professional immigrants to get their credentials qualified. Now, why do they come to us? It's because they don't have the credit score, they don't have the assets to back them up, or they may be considered a risky business. But what they do have is a dream. They do have a passion to realize their project. So what we do is not just microcredit, it's also technical support with coaches, with volunteers who are right here in this room. So we have to give more than financing. That is the secret of our success. Let me take the example of Pierre-Olivier. Pierre-Olivier, he has a business called Carmen and Philippe on Saint-Hubert, corner of Laurier Street and Saint-Hubert. You ask Pierre-Olivier, he'll tell you, I make the best cafe latte in my neighborhood. Now, Pierre-Olivier is in the restaurant business. Yes, the bankers here will say a risky business. So, yes, restaurants have their highs, like they can have their lows. And poor Pierre-Olivier had his share of lows. Renovations on Laurier Street, renovations on Laurier Metro, renovations to his building. So then one day he went to his bank, Desjardins, and said, listen, I'm in a cash crunch. Can you help me out? Thankfully for him, although they were not able to help him out, they referred him to us. So we were able to advance a $3,000 loan, a working capital loan. Not only that, we were able to forecast his business working capital, and we realized he might need another $3,000 loan down the lane. So that's what we did. And today, Pierre-Olivier has his business, Carmen and Philippe, with 12 employees, 13 years later. Rosalba. Madame Rosalba has a business called Imprimerie ACEM, named proudly after her 3 sons. Now, Rosalba had a printing business in Colombia, her home. When she moved to California, she had a printing business. So when she came to Montreal, guess what she wanted to do? Printing. High risk. But she said, listen, I have all the equipment. All I need is some working capital to get me started. So 5 years ago, we helped her start. Over the last 5 years, we've helped her with a lot of small, short-term loans, working capital loans. And she employs her husband in the business today. But we realize that what she really needs is a business line of credit, which she still doesn't have access to. So most recently, our loan committee has authorized a business line of credit guarantee so she can have access to a line of credit with Desjardins, with whom we have a partnership. So our work is not just microcredit, but also being there when they need and providing them those steps so that they can have access to the banks, building bridges with banks. Now, with microcredit, yes, we help entrepreneurs, but we also do loans for professional immigrants. Did you know that although the employment rate in Montreal is about 5.4%, recent statistics show that for immigrants who are not born here, the unemployment rate is about 12%, almost double. So naturally, they want to get their credentials qualified. So naturally, they want to access the job market as quickly as possible. So I'm going to be talking to you about Herman and Angel. Herman and Angel, both of them are civil engineers. Herman is from Colombia, Angel is from Venezuela. Angel was a very qualified civil engineer managing multi-million-dollar projects in Venezuela. But you know what happened there? One day he had to close shop and he found himself with his family here. Today, he's working in a mechanic's shop. Yes, we gave him a loan to become a member of the Order of Engineers, but his mind is not there. He still has to learn French. He still has so many other challenges, and all he wants is that network so he can start working using his talent. Herman, on the other hand, when he came to us 4 years ago, he hardly spoke any French. He had a little PowerPoint to make sure he had the right words for our loan committee, and he convinced us that he needed that $3,500 loan. He wanted to become a member of the Order of Engineers. Today, he is not only a member of the Order, he also works at the City of Montreal as a civil engineer. And Herman is evidently very proud of his accomplishment, and so are we. So, ladies and gentlemen, microcredit is important, but it's also the wraparound services. It's those networking events. It's those access to those hidden jobs. It's all that is the secret that will help somebody who's vulnerable, who's marginalized, be able to access his or her full potential and contribute to Quebec society. Our loans in ACEM, yes, we're talking $3,000, $5,000 loans, but these are from the capital that we lend. A lot of it comes from local investors, people who want to make a difference. They want to have a social impact with their investment. And we have recently did a sondage, and 66% of our businesses are still in operation 5 years after startup. Did you know that the Quebec average for life expectancy of a business is 34%? So we're actually doubled when we're talking high-risk businesses who are not eligible with banks. We have done about $5 million of loans with 2.5 million capital, but more than that, our loans have been able to be invested, leveraged into society, more than $18 million of investment in our local economy. We've been able to help create 2,500 jobs and maintain many others. So, in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, I've shared some stories about why it's important to invest in the potential of people, why it's important to nurture and develop the potential. And if you believe that it's important to help our local economy, if you believe that it's important to provide dignity for people in our communities, I request you to join us. You could become a volunteer, a mentor, a coach. You could donate for our operations. You could be an investor, or simply talk about us, like our Facebook page, spread the word, because it's only together that we can build a more inclusive and prosperous society. Are you game?
With engineering degrees and various different degrees, and they're busy driving taxis because they can't find a job. In our case, we're always looking for these people to employ, and there's a lack of communication because we cannot find them. I'm not exactly sure why this happens, but this has been happening to us for the last 20 years. And no matter what we do, we can't seem to find these people, yet we keep hearing these stories. So I think that there is a lack of communication between the organizations such as yourselves and other organizations which try and find placement for these people. We put ads in the paper, we communicate with placement agencies, and we cannot find people.
I agree with you. Our organizations are cash stripped. We have very little budgets for publicity, and so we've just got a new website that's fresh out of the box today. So I agree with you that we need to be building those bridges, and I'm hoping that evenings like tonight will be the beginning.
It seems to me that today, in the world of the internet, there isn't a lot of funding required in order to display your possibilities. So I'm not sure that this is the lack of funding.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a Facebook page and so on, and need somebody to look after it. So yeah, so it's just those little priorities. Am I going to be applying for funding, or am I going to be filling out my LinkedIn page? Yeah, I have 2 hands, but I wish I had 10. Thank you, thank you. I'll definitely pass that on. You'll be hearing from me soon. Thank you. Merci, Michel.
Merci.